So let's go on and look at the relationship life cycle in more detail. We can look at the relationship life cycle as a graph with an x-axis of the duration of the relationship and the y-axis of the intensity of the relationship. And that life cycle moves over time in different sections. We have an acquisition stage, a development stage, a retention stage, and a decline stage. And you can see how the life cycle is represented here on the graph of the initial increase and then the gradual development up to a plateau and then a decline. So that first stage is the acquisition stage, where both buyers and sellers are searching for a match. There's a period of settling in where there may be a slight dip, and a process of transaction and post-purchase activity is considered to be a form of socialization in the relationship. Then we move into the development stage. This is where the seller encourages the customer to repeat their order or buy more or to try other products. This should represent a deepening of understanding and trust between the two parties. Then we move on to the retention stage. So at this point there is greater relationship certainty and trust. And there's an expectation from the business that they will get business, they will get custom from their customers. And on the customer side, they have a sense of reassurance and they can expect that their needs will be met. And then finally, we move into decline. As I said before, any relationship does move into decline eventually if we're mapping a life cycle onto it. Customers may leave to go to competitors, or people may die, it sounds odd to say, or maybe there's a decrease in the relationship intensity, and perhaps the organisation could take action to try and win it back. If we take the National Trust for Scotland example, if someone is visiting the thinking of leaving page, then action could be taken, service recovery style action, to try and manage that decline and perhaps rescue the relationship. So let's look again at that model where we had the cost of acquisition of customers and customer lifetime value, now that we've appreciated the customer relationship life cycle. Customer lifetime value is all about understanding the present value of a customer in terms of both its expected future benefits minus its anticipated future costs. So this is really at the heart of the CRM concept. It's about moving beyond one-off transactions and appreciating the wider idea of long-term customer profitability. And we might be able to increase short-term profits by, for example, moving our call center offshore, but the impact of that would be that the relationship may be damaged with our loyal customers, and over a longer period of time, profitability is damaged as those relationships come to an end. And customer lifetime value is not just about profit, but it can also be about the other benefits of having a sustained relationship with your customers. So things like positive word of mouth and organic referrals hold a certain value to them, and we can account for that value in how we understand the value of the relationships we have with our customers. Not all consumers will be valuable over their life course, and maybe they shouldn't be. That's a kind of free market right. And a lot of financial institutions have struggled with this, that some customers actually cost more money than they provide profit. There's a balance to be struck in terms of the way in which some organizations actually serve a public good. But any company is trying to find out who their core customers are, those principal strategically important customers, and they want to attract and retain these. So revenues and intangible benefits such as referrals and customer feedback that a customer brings to the seller over an average lifetime are part of CLV. And this is less the amount the company must spend in order to acquire, market to, and service that customer. But any lost customer comes at a cost. And it is reckoned that the cost of a lost customer is significant in a factor of 5. So the cost of acquiring a customer is 5 times the cost that you would spend on retaining a customer, just showing the proportionate efficiency and value that can be achieved through effective CRM. And customer retention is known as the leaky bucket because we will always lose customers for one reason or another. It might be through no fault of ours because they have died, or they perhaps have moved away and your business does not serve the area in which they now live and therefore they can no longer be a customer, or the relationship may be damaged and ceased, but they are all counting as lost customers, and so they are the leaks in the bucket, and the bucket needs to be topped up with fresh customers. And that loss is known as customer churn, or the churn rate, the percentage on average of customers that you lose over a fixed period. And different organizations will understand their churn in different ways. Contemporary digital companies tend to consider it on a monthly basis, which is why when you hear about Facebook, they talk about monthly active users. Other more traditional businesses may measure their customer churn in terms of years. But churn can have a significant effect on the bottom line. If you start off with 1,000 customers and have a 10% annual churn, after 5 years, you'll have only 590 customers. So profitability is going to be damaged significantly if you can't somehow top that up with fresh customers. But it is thought that a 5% reduction in customer defection can increase overall profits from between 25 and 85%. And customer profitability tends to increase over the lifetime of the retained customer. So the longer you're able to sustain that relationship, the more profitable proportionately it will become over time. And it's reckoned that the average company loses about 10% of its customers every year by whatever means, which is interesting when you consider the average guide for a decent profit margin at the end of the year for a business is about 10%. So you can see how the basic economics of running a successful business maps on to the economics of managing customer relationship marketing. So if we look at what we've covered in this section, we can see how the relationship life cycle moves over time after we've broken even. And what we have across the x-axis in this diagram is cost versus return. We've got the cost of the acquisition of customers, and then we've got the return based on the ongoing relationship, which is why CRM is so valuable to contemporary businesses, because that relationship above the bottom line can be regarded as an asset because it can be predicted and it can be managed, and the value of it can be calculated. Therefore, it can be regarded as an asset. In summary, we have learned that there is a cost attached to winning a customer, the customer acquisition cost, or CAC. A customer relationship has a life cycle with distinct stages. We've seen the acquisition stage, the development stage, the retention stage, and then the decline. We've learned that every customer will have a value to the business over their life cycle, their CLV, customer lifetime value. And understanding CLV helps marketers maximize managing the relationship, considering it to be an asset that is managed over time.